Message from Starfleet Command, top priority.
You are listening to the TrekRanks podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 169, featuring the top 5 Trek Tropes. Welcome, Star Trek fans. I am Jim Moorhouse. I'm the host of the TrekRanks podcast, and tonight we have got an extremely special episode and topic coming to you. I've been wanting to do this one for the longest time. I've held back for quite a few years. I don't know why. I just wanted to save this one for deep into our TrekRanks run, because I think this topic is going to be some quintessential TrekRanks, and we're going to really get into the DNA of Star Trek. So tonight we are doing the top 5 Trek Tropes, which is going to be kind of a loving deconstruction of the framework of Star Trek, and I can't wait for it. So for such a massive topic, we obviously had to go deep and get 2 massive guests for this show, and they both just happen to be our most experienced TrekRanks contributors. He's here making his 25th overall appearance, and she is joining us for the 21st time. It's Commodore Alex Perry and Chief Engineer Jenn Tifft. Welcome back, Alex and Jenn.
Hello, hello.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
You've gone through this before, so we're not going to waste any time. Yeah, a couple of times. Jesus.
Oh, you don't want to hear my origin story? I developed a whole new backstory for myself.
I don't want to hear that. Okay. Let's get started with our TrekRanks recalibration.
What are you recalibrating?
Everything. It's a sweeping, a recalibration of all systems.
Okay, the TrekRanks charter has 2 clauses. 1, we rank Trek so we can have a fun conversation about Star Trek. And 2, the ranks don't matter. We just use them as the framework to have a deep dive conversation about all the things we love about Star Trek.
But what is that Vulcan motto? Infinite diversity.
In infinite combinations.
And what is diversity? A celebration of differences.
Because as T'Pol and Dr. Phlox just said, TrekRanks is just a celebration of differences. There are no wrong answers here. This show is all about sharing the things we love about Trek, and we love it all, from TOS to TNG, straight through to Enterprise and the Kelvin timeline, and now Discovery, Picard, Strange New World, Short Treks, Lower Decks, and Prodigy as well. It's all fair game here on the TrekRanks podcast.
Black alert. Black alert.
And a reminder that this episode of TrekRanks is current through the Star Trek Lower Decks 4th season episode, Empathological Fallacies, which is the 898th episode of Star Trek across the past 57 years. And one final reminder, we use episodes as a shorthand term, but the 13 films are definitely in play.
Hailing frequencies open.
Thank you, Mr. Worf. You can hail me directly on Twitter at TrekRanks or at Enterprise and Extra, or on Blue Sky at TrekRanks. And you can see our extensive rankings of all the Treks at TrekRanks.com. And don't forget to also call and leave us a message with your own picks at 609-512-LLAP. That's 609-512-5527. Okay, so to wrap it up, Alex and Jenn, let everybody know they can get a hold of you on Subspace. Alex.
You can find me on Twitter at Alexander T. Perry and at Alex T. Perry everywhere else.
Beautiful. Jenn.
And you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Edith Quarks.
Okay, let's do it. Let's run our diagnostic cycle to get into this topic.
Computer, run a level 2 diagnostic.
So really quick, what is a trope? Well, the dictionary definition of trope is twofold: a word or expression used in a figurative sense, so like a figure of speech, but it's more commonly defined as a common or overused theme or device. And in terms of Star Trek, that's what we're talking about today. It's just all those fantastic moments in Star Trek that just make Star Trek feel like Star Trek. It's little moments that could literally be transplanted from one episode to another and another, or not even, they don't have to be moments. They can be themes or structures. I'm not going to give an example of a Star Trek trope right now because I don't want to use something that could be picked, because literally anything could be picked tonight. But I'm going to give a cinematic example. So a trope in a horror movie are things like 2 people splitting up. You never go alone, right? It's all the Scream stuff and all the rules. Or in a Western would be akin to something like a duel or a draw or a gunfight at the end of the movie. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at. Tropes. You get the picture. Star Trek tropes. Let's get into our Prime Directive right now.
Do they know about Prime Directive? They know everything I know, sir.
And you're about to know everything we know about our prime directives. I am dying to hear how both you guys broke down your picks and to see if you had any like detailed qualifiers to narrow stuff down, because it's kind of a weird topic for that. So, Alex, starting with you, how did you define your prime directive and narrow down your picks?
So I have reviewed 3.5 seasons worth of Lower Decks episodes for Trek Core, and in every review I've done going all the way back to the series premiere, I've included a section on Trek Tropes. So the first thing I did was pulled up all of my reviews and pulled down all of the tropes that were in there. Then I thought of a bunch more. And then I decided I wanted to approach this in two ways. One, because this is TrekRanks, right? Trope, obviously you gave the dictionary definition, implies overused, which implies negative. I was like, I'm not doing anything that's snarky. I'm only doing things tropes that I like, right? And number two, I decided I had a couple on there that I liked, but I thought they were overly deep cuts, aka people would hear me say them and go, I've never thought about that before. And to me, that didn't feel like a trope that was worthy of top 5 tropes on TrekRanks. So I wanted to pick things that like very quickly people go, oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean, rather than something that might have been more obscure and only I'm the one who noticed it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Jen, how about you?
Yeah, when you talk about tropes having a positive or a negative connotation, and to me, these tropes are the ones that I've picked are ones that could never be overused, because I love them, because they are comforting, like a warm blanket whenever they come up, So I picked the ones that are the most comforting for me to revisit. The ones that are like, oh, it's this episode, great. It's this kind of episode, great. I am on board. They're like chicken soup for the not soul, the chicken soup for the Star Trek brain.
Yep.
And it just. So I went pretty broad here. Similarly to Alex. All mine are bigger tropes, and while I do have my favorite examples of each, I actually did something a little bit different, and I went for the most recent example I could think of the trope, just to show how the newer shows are keeping my favorite tropes alive.
Oh, cool.
So
your picks, your episode's gonna be the most recent example you could think of. I love it. This is great. Okay, so I think we're all pretty similar. I don't think we're gonna have any duplicates tonight though, but I did the same thing. I mean, I'm gonna lovingly jab at some of these tropes, but I love them all. I love every time it happens, whether it makes sense or not. So most of mine are big kind of structural things in terms of like how the story's told. There's a couple that are a little more precise and a little more visual, or just something you see over and over in Trek. But yeah, they're all because I love them and they make Star Trek. So this is going to be fantastic. Let's do it. Third Demoticon, introduce us to the order of things.
I am a Jem'Hadar. He is a Vorta. It is the order of things.
Thank you, Third Demoticon. As always, everyone will start with their 5-word summary and a hashtag to tease their pick. Then we'll each reveal our Trek trope and the reasons we're highlighting it. And of course, we'll pick an episode to associate with that pick. And after getting through 5 rounds of picks, we'll get a few secondary system selections from everyone. And remember, if we have any duplicate picks, make sure you listen for the Defiant Torpedoes. Okay, Alex, start with you. What's your number 5 pick for your top 5 Trek tropes?
All right, 5-word summary. Gathering round the captain's chair, hashtag, and probably laughing at Spock. The first trope I'm choosing to highlight is the way that many TOS episodes end with Kirk in the captain's chair, Spock and McCoy on either side, and some witty quip about what has just happened over the course of the episode. The specific episode I'm picking for this one being Star Trek Season 1, Episode 25, Devil in the Dark, which has a cute little button to the episode. This is one of those things where it's like, you've reached the end of an episode of TOS when ... You see they're back on the bridge and there's some moment of discussing what has just happened, some, like piece of discussion about a thing that Spock didn't understand, and Kirk and McCoy share a knowing glance. This is like wrap yourself up in a warm blanket to end a TOS episode. It always goes out on a high when they end it this way. And yeah, that's my first pick.
Or why Spock prefers Hortas to humans.
Exactly.
Fantastic. I love this pick. Jen, what's your take on the captain's chair endings, TOS, Devil in the Dark?
Oh, that's such a great pick. It invokes the end of like a sitcom episode where you freeze frame on everyone laughing at the end, and then you roll the credits.
And I think they did that one time. I think there was
piece
one
of the action, I think, wasn't it?
Is it piece? There is definitely an episode where they freeze it on everybody laughing. Yeah. Very sitcom. Sorry,
I don't know. Well, there's a joke. There's jokes at the end, but anyway, that's a great trope. I love it. You're right. It's like we just had this, 50-minute adventure, and it's over, and now we're just relaxing with our buds, where everyone knows your name on the bridge. It's great. I love it.
The worst one of these, is Operation Annihilate, where they actually have one in Operation Annihilate after Kirk's brother dies and all the guys dies.
Yes.
Like, oh my God. Okay. All right. Anyway. Okay, Jen, what is your round 5 Trek trope?
Okay. 5 words. It's up to you now. Hashtag, this is my house. I have to defend it. And this is the trope where the entire crew is infected by something except for one character who remains unaffected for some reason. Now it's up to them to save the ship alone.
So good.
Which I just love it. I love it because it's a great chance to hang out with one of the characters that you love, and like a little bit more in depth, and you're right along there with them because you're also unaffected by whatever it is, so it's like your team, and you got to save all your friends, and it's just always so fun. And these are things like the game. This is Seven and Bliss, and we can count Trip in his sexy blue underwear here, Adrian, Macrocosm, Odo, Dramatis Personae. There's so many good ones, and it's just always a fun way to frame an episode to me. I love that. So my pick is Lower Decks, season 4, episode 5, and Pathological Fallacies.
Of course.
Because T'Lyn is immune to the uncontrolled emotions of the crew because they're emanating from her.
Which in and in itself is also a trope, right? Like the crew goes wild episode is another one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love this. This is similar to kind of some of my picks. And T'Lyn and Pathological Fallacies. Brilliant. Love that episode.
So
Alex, any quick take?
Oh yeah, I love this pick. I love the man alone, or woman alone in this case, or non-gendered person alone. Like especially when they're facing off against their friends, that makes it even better, right? Like like the game, right, where slowly the crew all turn against Wesley, or Genesis, right, where it's Picard and Data against the de-evolved friends and crew members that they encounter along the way. This one's always a ton of fun.
Fantastic. I love this. Okay, my round 5 pick, 5 words and a hashtag. Need X minutes to fix that. Hashtag repair schedule at the speed of plot. And my pick is saying exactly how long something you need won't be working, so you can't use it. It happens all the time, and I especially love it when it's like really specific short amount of time where that something just going to be offline. And so my pick is Repentance from Voyager season 7, episode 13. And in the final act, this is the episode where they're transferring a bunch of prisoners whose ship exploded, and they're going to death row. So there's all this stuff happening on the ship. There's a jailbreak at the end of the episode, and some hostages are taken. And of course, Tuvok hails the bridge to ask them to beam everyone. Nope. Conveniently, the transporters go offline, and you just hear Janeway off screen. It's going to take 10 minutes to fix them. So great. I freaking love that. And this one's the transporters, but it's really about all the times the shields are knocked out, exactly, or you're about to go to warp drive and they're knocked out.
It's offline. Yeah.
It's just a great Star Trek trope.
You have 5 minutes to get us a shuttle. Tuvok bridge. Lock on to Yedik's signature and beam into...
Transporters are offline. We need at least 10 minutes to get them up and running.
So a couple of those examples, in maneuvers, they're literally going to jump to warp a couple of times and they get knocked offline right away. Anyway, I love Repentance. I think it's super underrated. The character stuff with the Seven's really good, and the Jeff Kober is a great guest character actor and a ton of stuff. So love it. Alex, what's your take?
Yeah, I love this. It's one of the it is one of the crutches that Star Trek writers have to rely on when dealing with all these magical technologies in order to be able to tell good stories, right? Because so often it is the case that the transporter would fix that immediately, or the shields would fix that immediately. It's sort of a bit like how to compare what you were doing earlier around, cinematic tropes, like how nobody on film even today really has a cell phone, when cell phones would solve 95% of the problems that ever came up in TV or movies. And so they just don't have characters have them, because then, it allows for the drama to happen. And it's exactly the same here, right? Yep, exactly. Transporter solves almost everything, so you got to take it offline. And us Star Trek fans are fussy enough to go, well, if there's not a line saying that the transporter was offline, then the episode is not as good, because otherwise there was a way out of it. So we're responsible for our own trope in that way, I think.
You have to hear it. You have to hear the words. Jen, anything?
Yeah, and they don't just do it with the magic tech that they have. They do it with like Deanna's telepathy too.
Yes,
I'm just not getting a reading from this guy.
Yes.
Because if I did, we know he was a baddie right away.
right.
A lot for half the episode. It's so fun.
Fantastic. All right, round 4. Alex, what's your pick?
All right. 5-word summary. Fussy ambassadors cause significant drama. Hashtag it's never easy as you think. This is escorting an ambassador from one place to another.
Oh my God.
Ultimately
Love
becomes a massive problem. And the episode I've picked for this one, as a tribute to many of these ideas having come from my Lower Decks reviews, is Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 5, An Embarrassment of Duplers.
Oh my God.
where that ambassador causes a lot of problems aboard the Cerritos. Also thinking about all of the TOS ambassadors, right? The one from Taste of Armageddon, whose name I'm blanking on, Ambassador Krajensky in The Adversary, on and on and on. Anytime it begins Captain's Log, we've taken aboard Ambassador so-and-so and we're transporting him from this place to this place, he's probably going to end up being one of the main foils of the episode in some way, shape, or form. And I'm always down for that, because it's always very similar, right? It's like fussy bureaucrat takes on principled Starfleet captain. And whether that's because the fussy bureaucrat duplicates every time he gets, feels negative emotions, or fussy bureaucrat is actually a changeling, or fussy bureaucrat's just a fussy bureaucrat, I love it every time.
I'm pretty sure Ambassador Fox, right? From Taste of...
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Fox.
I think I picked him for my one-off villains or something. Love this pick. Love it so much. I'm thinking about it in all the different scenarios, and I'm thinking, what would be my choice if I was picking this? I probably might take the Forsaken. I've kind of...
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've started to
three of them.
There's 3 of them, and I've started to really like the way Bashir and those... I kind of like this episode now. I didn't love it when it first came out, but I really like the interaction between... And it's our recalibration soundbite, too. So, Jen, what's your take on ambassadors being escorted throughout Star Trek?
And this could be in pathological fallacies as well.
Yep.
Oh my God, yes.
Absolutely.
So good.
Yep.
I love it. I love how exasperated Kirk gets having to deal with these guys too. It just makes me laugh every time, because he has no poker face and he just can't stand it.
Especially when in Taste of Armageddon, Fox is like actively trying to get the crew killed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's the worst. That's right. He's the worst.
He's like, he's the worst. But even like then, you have like Waxana Troy, like they took that trope from TOS and expanded upon it, with a different type of, bureaucrat and and it's still giving trouble to the captain, but in a different way, in a way to most exasperate Picard,
Right. I have a new pick. It's Kamala from The Perfect Mate.
Oh,
she's an ambassador at some level.
Sure is. Yep. Okay,
Jen, what's your round 4 pick?
Okay. I'll sleep when I'm dead. #, but not today. This is when all the characters think that a main character is dead when they really aren't. Which I just love so much when this is this could be like Data being kidnapped in The Most Toys, or or something like Kirk and Spot, in A Mock Time, Travis,
Picard in Gambit.
Yeah, Geordi,
yes.
O'Brien and Bashir in Armageddon Game, Geordi and Ron in The Next Phase, that kind of thing. I just love
Enterprise
it.
Crew and Shuttlepod 1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, another one.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, this is a good one. Yeah.
I like the emotional payoff of that without having to deal with the consequences, because one of the tropes I dislike is killing a main character, so you get the best of both worlds with this, because you get to see some of how they would react without this character.
I have another one, Trip and These Are the Voyages. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sure. Yep.
Right.
Someday.
So
we can add that here. And it's just sort of like comforting wish fulfillment, because it's kind of, it's easy to dream about that happening if you've lost someone, like they get that reward of like, oh my God, you're not dead, thank God, and also it's fun to wonder like what people say about you when you die, things like that, and they get to see some of that. You know what I mean? So I like getting that. So I really, really like that trope. And my pick is from Lower Decks also. It's season 2, episode 7, Where Pleasant Fountains Lie, which is a great title.
Oh, right.
And this is when we think Rutherford's dead, because when Phillips's mom blows up, that part of her ship, Rutherford is one of the listed casualties. We get to see, Dr. Tiana have to tell Tendi that he's dead, and see Tendi react to that and have to cope with that, and wanting to do something and say, and finding that out that his implant's still transmitting, and she's going to go over there and part of him's still alive. You know what I mean? Like, we get a lot of emotional stuff out of Tendi with that. And of course he's fine. He's just sitting there in the banquet room, drinking meat or whatever it is. It's so good. But
with the stun guitars.
That's the lute. It's probably a lute, right?
yeah, right.
Oh my God. All right. A lot of Lower Decks love. I'm loving this. Yeah. Alex, your take on the dead but they're not dead trope. So good.
I love this too. My favorite version of it is Gambit. When they all think Picard is dead.
20 TNG episode from Moorhouse.
And that specifically the "you're damn right I'm angry" scene between Riker and Troy.
So good.
The captain was killed in a bar fight in cold blood, where he's like, I'm gonna go on being angry, right? And it's so good because, first of all, at that point in the episode, I think you know that maybe you don't know that he's still alive at that point, but like the actors know that it's not like a real scene, right? That 10 minutes later you'll find out that Picard's still alive, but it is so well acted, it is so well done, and it does sort of let you see a little bit like how would the characters react if one of those characters died, but without you then having to go through, sorry Jen for Trip, having to go through the pain of that character actually being dead.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
which he's not.
He's not.
But he's not, of course. Right, yes, of course. He's absolutely not.
All right, Gambit.
Well, in that case, Commander Data, I will get some sleep, and I think you should escort Commander Riker to the brig.
I think, honestly, my favorite of these is the next phase, because the scene where they come back is just joyous. It really
Data, can you see us?
So
they get to go to their own funeral.
I know.
That's so awesome. Cool. And their funeral's amazing. Data planned the most amazing funeral for them.
He did. All right. Let's close out round 4 with my pick. 5 words and a hashtag. You need to see this. Hashtag. Maybe save some time and just tell me. And I've got 2 examples of this, but I love these moments where in the middle of some crazy action, the captain or some other major protagonist gets called over the comms about something incredible happening, and the only information they're given is, I need you here now, or you're going to need to see this, or something like that. No, just tell me about it. And if I need to see it, I'll do that too. But you can kind of tell me about it, and then I can think about it while I'm going down there to see it. Right. Anyway, I love this trope. It happens all the time, obviously for dramatic reasons. So my two examples, I'm picking two examples here. One super big and one super small of this. So the first one is Timescape in TNG season 6. With all the shit going on and time basically frozen, we get a classic, you need to see this moment from Data.
If time returns to normal, I don't see how she can survive.
Data to Captain Picard.
Go ahead, Mr. Data.
Please come to engineering immediately. It is urgent.
When he discovers the ship's in the midst of a catastrophic warp core breach, and he hails Picard with, hey, you need to see this. Not, oh, the ship's warp is exploding. Get over
Why don't
here.
you say that?
I love it. I love it so much.
It's so funny.
What's the problem, Mr. Data?
Captain, I believe I found the cause of the power surge. There is a warp core breach in progress.
And then on a smaller scale in The Circle from Deep Space Nine, again, amidst all this upheaval on the station, potential Bajoran civil war, government takeover, Jake finds some graffiti on the door of their quarters and calls his dad and says, you need to get up here. I really think you need to see this. Instead of just telling him what it is, the guy's busy. He's got stuff to do. He can still come and see it. But don't wait until he gets there. Who knows what it could be. Anyway, I love it. Dramatic fade to commercial. I love you need to see this trope in Trek. Alex, what's your take?
This is such a great Star Trek trope that I'm in the process of preparing to lead another Star Trek Adventures role-playing game session on Sunday, and I just realized I put that trope into the mission that I'm writing.
Oh, so
Do I get to say it? I'm the chief engineer.
No, unfortunately, you get to react to it. I'm very sorry.
There's something I need to see. Okay, I can.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
Nerd alert.
Yep. No, this one's great because it is very much like it's a TV thing, right? Like,
right, you have to do it.
You have to do it because you want the sort of show's perspective to shift so that you can see whatever's happening rather than just, see, don't tell. But when you sit down and think about it, it is a super weird thing to do. But I love it all the same.
Love it. Could not love it anymore. Jen?
Yeah, it's such a blatant, obvious, transition. It's like using a star wipe to go to the next scene.
Right,
you know what I mean? It's so funny. It's always something. It takes me out of the scene, but not in a bad way. In a like, oh, they did the thing again kind of way. It feels comforting,
like a warm blanket, like you said. It's
exactly.
A cup of chicken soup for your Star Trek brain.
That's right.
Okay, speaking of soup, let's go to the soup round.
There you go.
Oh, Vulcan Plumik soup. And I'll bet you made it too.
Here we go. Alex, what's your number 3?
All right, 5-word summary. Leading people is very hard. # sometimes you need a good lesson. And this is the trope of a character who finds themselves either involuntarily or voluntarily in a command position who needs a hard lesson from someone close to them about how to be a good commander. The episode I've chosen, I could have chosen Lower Decks again, season 4, episode 3 in the Shadow of Vexilon, in the Cradle of Vexilon. Instead, I chose Deep Space Nine, season 4, episode 6, Starship Down, and Worf in the in engineering, being in sort of commander people for the first time and doing an absolutely terrible job of it until O'Brien's like, you're doing an absolutely terrible job of it. Other big examples would be Troy in Man of the People, to Thine Own Self, where she takes, she has to beat the officer's test by telling Geordi to go die. And Harry Kim in Nightingale is another one that sort of fits into this pattern as well. It's Riker for Troy and it's 7 of 9 for Harry Kim. I love this one because it's like you get good character growth, right? It's like And it is very true that, you know, for lots of these characters, as much as we sort of hold them up as being these highly heroic individuals, most of them do still have learning curves they ultimately need to go through. And anytime you sort of hit a point where it's like, oh, maybe there is still some improvement you need to do in your job, it does kind of remind you a little bit that these people are ultimately, they're not all superhuman. And there are spaces where they can continue to grow and improve. And I love that, you know, it's not just that someone needs a hard lesson in being a good commander, but also that there's somebody with them to like give them that advice. It's always the like 1-2 punch. And in Lower Decks, it's T'Lyn is the other person for Boimler.
I love this deep cut. This is so good, but you forgot. You've mentioned a bunch, but you forgot one, Alex.
The OG, man.
Oh, of course, Galileo 7.
No. You forgot Red Squad. Yeah. Valiant. Yes, it's a whole ship of them. I love it.
Yep.
Jen,
so funny. That is a whole ship of them. That's
I love that you picked Valiant for this pick. Good job, Alex. Jen, what's your pick?
I like this because everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and it's nice to see that even though these, you know, our Starfleet people are all exceptional, they all do have their strengths and weaknesses, and it's nice to see the two characters play off each other, like the OG, like the Galileo 7. You know, Spock is amazing, right?
Yep,
but
of course.
Bones can teach him a thing or two, you know. And I love watching that and learning along with them and seeing them grow, seeing the characters grow. It's so fun. That's a great pick.
Fantastic pick. Well said, Jen. I love it. Okay, what's your number 3 pick?
Okay, my soup brown pick. 5 words. I get what you're saying. # fictional consistency. And I knew I had to get some kind of technobabble pick, right?
Okay, yes.
But this is specifically made up particles and units of measurement that stay consistent in universe.
Yeah.
Throughout 900
God.
episodes of Star Trek. I cannot get enough of this. It's my favorite thing. If there's a tachyon, if there's a chronoton, I know what that means. If you're scanning a wormhole, I sure as hell know you're going to get Verteron particles.
Yep.
You know, like they stay consistent. And the units of measurement are even more satisfying because like one of my favorites, Kelly Cam.
Kelly Cam.
Great.
That is a Klingon unit of distance.
Yeah.
How cool is that? You know, talk about a warm bowl of chicken soup. Wow, when a Klingon talks about how many Kelly Cams you got to stay behind another ship. Oh, it's my favorite. You know, gigaquads of data. Do you know how much data that is?
Nope, but it sounds like a lot.
Right. It's
always a lot.
Right. It's 10 metric tons of data. You know, you just know that. And it's consistent. My favorite in particular is the Cochrane, which is a unit of subspace distortion, which just has that added layer of making sense in universe, you know, as a reference to itself. Like the Cochrane being the unit of measurement for that is just so brilliant, and it just makes me happy every time we hear these units of measurement being used. And the pick that I have
I can't wait to hear this pick.
Okay, so it's Lower Decks again. I promise this is
awesome.
This is my last Lower Decks pick, I promise. But this is season 4, episode 2. I have no bones, yet I must flee. And this is Rutherford in an attempt to outshine his engineering rival.
Oh, yes.
Increases the power output of the Tucker tubes.
Yes.
By listen to this, by 7 picocochrans.
Yes.
And the reason I love this example so much is because in previous episodes where we hear about Cochrans as a unit of measurement, it's usually millicochrans.
Yeah.
So hearing that he increased it by 7 picocochrans has that, if you know, if you're paying attention to that unit of measurement, you realize how microscopically small of an increase that has to be.
Oh my God.
You know, because we usually hear about millicochrans.
Oh
Now this is 7 picocochrans. I died when I heard that. It made me laugh so hard. It's so funny. But that's a joke that you can only have if you're that consistent with your made up bullshit words, you know, that you've used.
Yep.
And I just love it so much. It's just so great. It's my favorite.
Come on. Show me that sweet incremental improvement. Yes! Commander Billups, you might want to sit down. I increased the power output of the Tucker tubes by 7 picocochrans.
That's great, Rutherford. I just hope those adjustments can apply to the Billups tubes.
The what now?
So good. I can't get past Kelicams because that is such a good one. Kelicams that's from like the TOS movies, right?
Search
for Spock.
Yep, Search for Spock, and then
good.
I mean even like Martok is still using it in Deep Space Nine.
It's so consistent,
Yeah.
and this is such a great pick. I was wondering, Technobabble is on my secondary system, but I love that you have Technobabble, but like a specific version of it. So good, Alex.
Yeah, I mean it's like Romulans look a certain way and do a certain thing, and Klingons look a certain way and do a certain thing, and that's sort of the surface layer of the consistency of the Star Trek world. And then this is just like the undercurrent, right? Of these sort of little ways that connect the universe together in ways that are entirely authentic and run through 57 years worth of the franchise, and in some ways are just as important as the fact that Romulans have pointy ears and try and stab you in the back, right? I love this because it's one of those things where it's like you don't necessarily consciously process it most of the time, but it does have this massively affirming quality to it of you are watching Star Trek.
Yeah, so good. And by the way, it makes sense that if you're doing the most recent example and stuff, that you're going to have a ton of lower decks because it's the show that capitalizes on tropes.
Sure.
Jen, so
that's my last one, though.
I love it. Okay. It's not the last one in the show. I'll tell you that. Okay. 5 words and a hashtag. My round 3 pick. Checkmate in 7 moves. Hashtag Trek's chess gambit. And it's chess all the way through Star Trek.
Great
and more
pick.
specifically, so I love that chess is used strategically and as a metaphor for a lot of things in Star Trek all throughout, but I'm kind of picking the specifics, and this is insane, by the way. It has no bearing on actual chess. It's when they have like some kind of character building scene where one character says to another, it will be checkmate in 6 moves or 8 moves or 9 moves. There's a 9 moves example. That's not how chess works, okay? I'm telling you, it doesn't work that way. There's no way, I don't care how good somebody is or how bad somebody is, that it's 9 moves ahead. You can always delay somebody and make them move somewhere else by just changing something. It's not how it works. And I found about 7 examples of it, all the way from Where No Man Has Gone Before, where Spock to Kirk. That was next move, so that was good. All the way to Lost in Translation, where Kirk's watching Spock versus Chapel. He says, your Vulcan buddy should protect his queen. He's 2 moves away from checkmate until you distracted him. So that's actually good. 2 moves I can see. I can see someone seeing far ahead on that. Of course, that's simple. But in Menage a Troy, Riker said to the Ferengis, you'll be mated in 2 moves. In the nth degree, Barclay, on his way out, his last bit of knowledge says checkmate in 9 moves. No. Here's my favorite one. This is my pick. It's from Conundrum. Data is playing Troy, and Data realizes that Troy is going to checkmate his king in 7 moves.
Yes, that's right.
Which is so dumb. Preposterous. Or quad chess. That makes absolutely no sense, and I love it. And then there's also, of course, things like Court Martial, where Spock's testing the computer being tampered with, by any other name, Spock and Rojan are playing. So many great examples of chess all throughout Star Trek. Alex, what's your take?
I think you're going to checkmate me in 12 moves with this one, Jim.
I gotcha.
You just don't fully appreciate the rules of 3-dimensional chess. I think that's the only thing I can take away from this conversation is you don't get it the way that Jen and I do.
Well, obviously in universe, of course, it's 3D chess is a totally different thing. Moorhouse, shut the hell up. And what's your take? By the way, I love it. I love it every time they say it. It's fantastic.
I love it too. They are such nerds in the best possible way. The best way. And that's such a great example to just show how nerdy they are, like how smart and nerdy they are. And it's fun every time. You could have picked lower decks for this one too. They're wearing the chess outfits when Q zaps them in the game.
Yeah. So good. That's right.
So
oh my
funny.
God. I did not connect that.
I love Veritas.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
So
Might be
good.
my favorite.
All right, let's go to round 2. Alex, it's your number 2 Trek trope.
All right, 5-word summary. You know it'll be good. Hashtag when someone says halt turbo lift.
Good one.
Something good is happening.
This is the trope of halting the turbo lift to have a serious conversation about something. And my pick is actually like me trying to rescue myself from what is probably 170 episodes of TrekRanks ago, which was, Jim, it was you, me, and Carlos Miranda. It was your first scenes in a episode. It was scenes in a turbo lift, and you both picked the Riker Shelby scene
and you didn't have
Best of Both Worlds Part 1, and I didn't even think of it. It didn't even occur to me until it came out
all the time
of one of your mouths. So for this one, I'm rescuing myself. I'm choosing Star Trek The Next Generation Season 3, Episode 26, The Best of Both Worlds Part 1. And the delicious scene in which Riker dresses down Shelby. But you could pick 100 different examples. You know that when a character says, computer, halt turbo lift, fun stuff is you are about to get a delicious meal of a scene in which you want two characters in a cramped space who are about to have some level of secret or dramatic conversation. I absolutely love it. It like the moment the words come out of somebody's mouth, I am totally locked on to the episode because I want to know what's about to happen next.
Decade Battle Bridge.
Halt. Commander, you and I need to have a conversation.
You never ordered me not to discuss this with the captain.
You disagree with me? Fine. You need to take it to the captain? Fine. Through me. You do an end run around me again, I'll snap you back so hard you'll think you're a first-year cadet again.
That was episode 16 of TrekRanks, almost 6 years ago.
Wow.
Alex Perry did not choose Riker, his favorite character, and Best of Both Worlds, and I think
correct
all the time, almost 6 years ago. I love this fantastic pick. Halt turbo lift, so good, all over the place in Trek. Jen, what's your take?
Yeah, because it's so intimate of a space.
Yeah,
on the turbo lift stops, you know, like it has a different feeling than walking down the hall and just like stopping to have a conversation. You know, it's got a more private, intimate moment happening in the turbo lift, so you know there's going to be some big emotions or something, some big reveal, something, you know. And you're right, a tasty morsel of a scene is coming up, and it's such a great pick.
Okay, to be fair, Alex's number 1 pick is fantastic. It's spectacular, dude. It's Picard realizing his mistake in Tapestry. Oh my God.
Yes,
that is such a good pick. That's not a Halt turbo lift moment, but that is. Whew, that's a deep one. I love it.
You're getting a good laugh cue. Think about me as a dreary man and a terrible job.
Oh my God, so good. Okay, Jen, what is your number 2 pick?
Okay. On the kindness of strangers, hashtag helpful local. This is when one of our main characters is a fish out of water for some reason. But one person is kind to them or sympathetic or believes their crazy sounding story. That they're an alien or that they're from the future or whatever. There's always somebody who believes them and helps them get back home, you know.
Love it.
Which I just love. I mean, this is like you know, in Thine Own Self, you know, the Gia and her family help Data. Yep. You know, this is Archer's apothecary friend in Civilization. This is, you know, Kim convincing the alternate Tom Paris to help him in Non Sequitur.
So
you know,
good.
Little Green Men. You know, the queen of this, Rain Robinson, of course, is the queen. But I just love this because, you know, would I believe these crazy stories and help them? You know, probably not. You know, I feel like these people need professional help, you know. So I always enjoy seeing our characters when they are in trouble, getting help from people who are maybe kinder or more understanding than I am. You know what I mean?
You're doing such a good job of building up the suspense to your picks. I love this.
So my pick is Strange New Worlds, season 2, episode 3, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
Oh, sure.
And but two things. One, they flip this trope on its head, by making because that woman who helps them is should be the
I've been
local,
waiting here since
right?
1992.
Over them, and it's almost as if time itself is pushing back, and events reinsert themselves, and all of this was supposed to happen back in 1992, and I've been trapped here for 30 years trying to get my shot at him. I'm not going to stop now, so open the door.
Right, but she's not. It turns out she's a Romulan spy, and it's really funny that that Kirk, that alternate Kirk, kind of trusts her right away. As if he knows that this is a trope, and she's someone who believes them, so she should be trustworthy. You know what I mean? But also, alternate Kirk could be considered one of these helpful local students. Though he's also out of water, but he's helping La'an. When La'an gets to his ship. He's the one, he takes her into the writing room and he's ready to help her, and then he helps her, once they're obviously, he believes her once they get transported to the past. But it's just fun because it's got different layers of this trope in that episode. There's 2 different layers there, which is just really fun.
I love this. I love this pick. I love Tomorrow. This is such a. I never would have thought of this one, but you gave so many great examples. I mean, Ray Robinson has to be my favorite. But Alex, what's your take?
Muse was the one that, for some reason, immediately came into my mind when you brought this up. Yeah. I love this
that's
one.
Such a good one.
Yeah. Honestly, I was like, oh, it's Jenn. She's gonna pick Muse because that's a real top. I love Tomorrow though. I mean, that's one of my favorite episodes. Until Those Old Scientists, it was firmly entrenched in the top spot for me for season 2 of Strange New Worlds. And yeah, I love this trope because it always happens when you're doing a real off-ship episode, right? Like one of the stories of the episode or the whole story of the episode of a modern Star Trek is, gonna be focused on being in this place where your character is that fish out of water and everything is either the alien society or the time displaced part of history that you're in. So yeah, well, I guess Gillian Taylor would be another one, right? Voyage Home.
Oh yeah,
would
good
also count.
Well, it's certainly not Bob. All right. Oh, this pick is so good, fantastic. Okay, let's go to my number 2 pick. 5 words and a hashtag. Hypos, hypnotic magic entrances me. Hashtag. It is a hypo spray coming to you straight from sick bay. One of my favorite tropes. It's someone being knocked out and then instantly woken up by a quick hypo spray to the neck so that they can answer some questions. That's Captain Archer barking in the background. Sorry. And it's just to reveal some key plot information. I love this. It always happens so many times where it's just sorry.
I personally think it's more of a
okay,
but
okay, that's better. It's much better. So here are a few of my examples that I love. Voyager emanations. This girl is dead. She has moved through dimensions, left on a rock in a cocoon of some sort. But one quick hypo, she is back in alert on the Voyager 6 day. I love it. I love it. And then in Second Skin, Kira has been kidnapped and undergone some major body horror level reconstructive surgery, but the hypo wakes all things up. And Entech just says, wake her up. She's up. And then another great one is from TNG and the Neutral Zone. Claire Raymond is literally dead and almost 300 plus years removed from Earth, but pretty simple stuff. Just wake her up and she sees Worf again and she's out. Okay, and then my pick, though, is we're going all the way to Galorndon Core and the Enemy, where Centurion Patak, by the way, his name's Patak, so I think that was before they decided Patak was a swear word, played by Steve Rankin. He's in bad
Alien
shape.
Nation.
Right. But a quick hypo wakes him up just a few minutes for Riker to badger him with questions he won't answer. So I love it. Hypo sprays, waking people up. Jen, what's your take?
I love the doctors always protest too, you know?
Right.
And they're like, make it quick.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So good.
Oh my God. What a perfect pick, because it's everywhere, right? It's like it's in the same way that you were like repairs that move at the speed of plot. This is medicine that moves at the speed of plot.
So much fun. I love a good hypospray scene. Okay, let's do it. Round 1.
Begin round 1.
Can't wait for this. Alex, what's your number 1 Trek trope?
All right, 5-word summary. Meeting yourself sets off fireworks. Hashtag the ultimate Trek trope.
Fun.
And for me, this is any time a character shares the screen with themselves.
So what a great pick.
My pick here for this one is Star Trek Voyager Season 7, Episode 24, Endgame. In which Admiral Janeway shares the screen with Captain Janeway. I thought about doing Deadlock, where Captain Janeway shares the screen with Captain Janeway. You could have picked Second Chances, where Riker shares the screen with Riker. You could have picked all of the times that Data shared the screen with Lore, or I think even some, like in We'll Always Have Paris, Data shared the scene with Data and Data and Data and Data. There are so many obvious examples of characters who meet themselves in Star Trek. You go all the way back to The Enemy Within, right? Like the 4th episode of Star Trek is a character who ultimately, I mean, he spends most of the episode avoiding himself, but does meet himself again at the end of the episode. It's one of my favorite tropes because it's just like, there's always some like fun, convoluted reason for it happening. And I'm sure it's very difficult for the actors who do it because, you know, you have to act one side to nobody and then you turn around and act the other side to nobody. But somehow it always works. It's always fun.
So good.
And yeah, like just this, like, and it's so quintessentially Star Trek, right? Like, what other cinematic franchises, anything you watch on TV or movies, are you pretty frequently actually seeing people meet themselves? And it's like, yep, that's a Star Trek thing, through and through.
I just realized I can go through all these picks and come up with topics for future Trek Ranks episodes. This is great. Go back to episode 21, our top 5 doppelgangers, duplicates, and doubles.
Yep.
Fantastic pick. I love the Endgame is a great example of this. Yeah, probably Deadlock's probably my favorite of straight up meeting yourself.
Yeah.
Love this. Jen, what's your take?
Yeah, it's very psychological, right? It's a mind fuck to meet yourself in any
I wouldn't want to.
I was just about to ask. Sorry, Jen, keep that thought.
Go ahead.
Because I would love to meet myself. So, Alex, you don't want to meet yourself?
I don't think so. No.
Jen?
No.
Dude, I don't know if I'd trust myself.
Okay.
Let's not probe too deeply
with myself. I don't know what that says about us.
I'm thinking like Kira and the attendant here.
Yep. Another
that's
great
a mirror
example.
Universe.
It's still meeting yourself, though.
It's still meeting yourself.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't want to meet my mirror universe self. That person's going to be a dick.
Okay, well,
do I want to meet my future self? Endgame? Sure. Or Deadlock? Sure.
Yeah. Well, do you want to be the younger one or the older one? Like, would you rather be your younger self or
I'd rather be the younger self. Get some tips. I always want to be younger.
No, I'd rather be the older self.
I'm freaking old. You don't want to be old. Trust me.
I'd rather be the older self because, you know, if you are the younger self, it's like, all right, well, I know what happens then.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, Jen, sorry.
Well, because I was just saying, because I'm thinking about how, you know, Kara's like disgusted by the attendant. But you're right, if you're gonna say that's a mirror universe one, so it doesn't count. But like Riker's disgusted with Thomas Riker in the same way, and that one's more that one's more psychologically interesting too, because that's him meeting his younger self. Like that is how he would have reacted exactly to that situation.
And Picard fucking hates himself in Times Square.
Yeah,
he absolutely cannot stand himself.
I wonder if I would like myself.
I think I would like myself. But what I want to know is what would happen if Tom Paris met Nick Locarno.
Oh man. The world wouldn't implode.
Okay, Jen, what is your number one Trek?
Oh my goodness.
Trope.
Okay, my number one pick. Mission parameter: to go boldly. Hashtag everyone's Top Gun call sign is Maverick. This is when our hero does something dangerous or illegal or stupid, and it works, and they are proven right. And I fucking love it. I live for this shit. It's so good. I love this because, okay, sure, everyone in Starfleet, we've talked about it earlier, how they're all do-gooder overachievers, but also risk is their business. It's a trait that they all share, and I love that because it's fun and exciting to watch, and also because I'm not as much of a risk taker as sometimes I'm watching these things, I'm like, whoa, I never would have made that choice. That's crazy. And I just love, I just love watching the payoffs of that, of that daring boldness that they all have, the willingness to do whatever it takes to do, to save someone, to do the right thing, save the day, and to be willing to accept the consequences for their actions. It's just another way that our Starfleet officers, sacrifice themselves to help people. This is like, well, I mean, First Flight, that's literally Maverick and Goose right there.
Right.
But things like Tom Paris in 30 Days, he's willing to accept the consequences. Spock's taking Pike to Telos 4, Reg Barkley in Pathfinder. He officially becomes a Star Trek hero there when he decides to break in, to the equipment room and do the thing, and he saves the day, and we know it's illegal, and our crew in the voyage home ready to go back to Earth to accept the consequences for everything that they did in the previous movie, which is a lot.
Kirk, you do this, you'll never sit in the captain's chair again.
Oh my god, exactly. I love it. They're willing to take the risk, do what needs to be done, and accept the consequences, and it's just so very, very Star Trek, and I just love it so much.
So what's your pick?
So my pick is Picard, season 3, episode 1, The Next Generation. Just, it's Picard and Riker, classic. Picard and Riker, they redirect the Titan and steal the shuttle to save Bev. They're doing it to save Bev, and Picard knows this is the end of his career, but they're gonna save Bev. Of course they're gonna do this. They're gonna do something illegal. They're gonna ruin their lives potentially, to save Bev. And bonus 7 is the helpful local here,
Oh yeah.
Good. Because they need her, to help redirect the Titan to the system they need it to be in. And I just love it. I love watching them make the bold choices to go boldly. It's the best.
Spectacular pick. I never would have thought of that. There's so many great examples.
So many.
Wait, so which episode did you pick?
She picked the Ruse.
The Next Generation.
I keep calling it the Ruse because I love that moment. The Next Generation from Picard.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
yes.
I picked
I'm sorry.
I picked them hijacking the Titan.
Yes.
I like that. I just love when he calls it a ruse. I said that 3 times now. Okay, Alex, any take on this? What would be your pick for this topic?
Oh, definitely The Search for Spock. I mean, definitely The Search for Spock.
So
I love that movie. It's such an underrated movie.
Mr. Adventure.
Yeah, it's the classic example of this.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, we're going to end. I'm just going to do a fun one. My number one is a fun one. 5 words and a hashtag. Blank white void for dueling. Hashtag Sam Paquita versus the Delta Flyer. And it's just white space for characters to talk in throughout Star Trek. Just blank white rooms and some otherworldly reality. They're all over the place. I'm going to rattle off a few and then I'll reveal my pick, which you might be able to guess. Captain Archer. You might be able to guess from my hashtag. So Tapestry, of course, is a classic blank white room.
Yep.
Affliction for Trip and T'Pol.
Yep.
You got the goddamn sphere builders in 0 Hour.
Yep.
Got all kind of great scenes with Sisko as the emissary, most notably with Cassidy at the end of What We Leave Behind. Data's incredible return in Picard season 3 and Surrender, although that was kind of staticky blue, but still the same vibe. And then my pick for this, is Rutherford fighting with himself and reflections as we get some resolution on his backstory and how he became the person he is. I love it. So good. That young, cocky Rutherford versus our beautiful, loving, trusting, inquisitive Rutherford. So blank white voids. Jen, what's your take?
I love it. This is the exact opposite of the Halt turbo lift. You know, because instead of the like intimate enclosed space, it's just a wide void of nothingness, all to infinity. You know, so it's that exact opposite feeling. These are always conversations that are like metaphysical. You know,
otherworldly,
sublime, otherworldly. Yes, I just love it. This is such a great pick. There's so many examples.
A fun one, Alex.
Love this. Yeah, anytime the screen goes white is another like sit up and pay attention moment.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. It's an indicator of that. Okay, secondary systems. Alex, what do you got?
Let's see what you can do with the secondary systems.
All right. The Golden Gate Bridge being visible in every San Francisco shot with a window.
Of course. Of course.
Which was my like too deep cut to make it onto my my 5 list. My favorite cinematic trope of all time, which I would describe as the finale team up, which happens twice in Star Trek, in 0 Hour and Such Sweet Sorrow Part 2. Characters speaking another language until the universal translator starts working.
Oh, I love those.
Love that. We
don't see enough of that trope.
No, we do not. We've not mentioned Badmiral, so I'm just gonna, say it, and I'm sure that will be most of the Twitter responses. And then the last one I'll mention, because I have literally 1,000, would be captains giving a rousing speech over the intercom where they cut to people elsewhere on the ship listening to them speak.
Good one. There's not enough of those either. That's good. Okay, Jen, what do you got?
I've got new experimental tech introduced in that episode ends up saving the day.
Yes.
It's just theoretical. Captain, this could work,
Wedge dude.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Do you have a tomographical imaging scanner on board?
I'm gonna build you one.
Yeah. Oh, I never get enough of that. Yep. Nth degree. Wes and the Naked Now. No, Wes is science project. I just love that. It's so great. It's like, remember this for later, guys.
Yeah, perfect.
I've got that's it. Someone says something innocuous and it gives someone an idea. It's like, Data, you're a genius. I know what he said. There's the real good one. There's another Lower Decks, a real good one there where Rutherford overhears Carol and Mariner having like an intimate mother-daughter conversation in first contact.
Yes. And that's another trope too, which I also have on my list, which is people walking into holodecks without announcing that they're coming.
That's good. Yeah.
Oh, but it's funny because he announces the trope too, because he's like, that's it. We have to remove the hole, make ourselves vulnerable, just like Mariner has to do with people. It's so funny. I also have exploding consoles. Never gets old to me. Never gets old.
The more rocks, the better.
It's just the best. And safety's off on the holodeck. Holodeck malfunctions, man. Why do these safeties exist? It's the best thing. I love it. Like, why is that even an option? What kind of crazy asshole is using it with safeties off on purpose? I don't know.
I'm shocked, Madam Safety Inspector, that didn't make it onto your 5 list.
Holodeck safety is set to random.
Why is that even a setting?
So good. So good. Okay, I got a few more. You done, Jen? You good? Yeah. Okay, I got a few more. I didn't really have a toughest cut. My 5 were pretty clear. So I've got obvious 20th and 21st century words and terms that no one seems to know in the 24th century. This one I dislike. I dislike it. So a good one is from the high ground when Picard says terrorists are using your mother as a bargaining chip, and Wesley goes, bargaining chip? There's no idea what that is, and they're just like, it's from the whatever.
That's so funny.
Of course, we haven't mentioned yet rocks and concrete falling from the ceiling on starships. It's just spectacular. So this one, I've been keeping a list of tropes for like 5 years. Just every time I think of one, I just write it down. So I have this long list. I actually had Dr. Waves a Light over it way before Lower Decks. So I didn't want to pick it because now it's like a real thing. Doc will wave a light over it. I love it. But I used to have like that as one of mine. You'll love this one, Alex. Descriptive alien prose plus regular animal. So the Hyperion wildebeest or something.
Oh, yes.
The Pardakian longhorn moose.
Exactly. And this is one I may make this a topic. Like the historical reference where 2 are real and 1 is a
yeah, 2 truths and a lie.
Love those. Ion storms are everywhere from court-martial to die trying. Of course, we have to mention Voyager's never-ending supply of torpedoes and shuttles, which, of course, is always fun. And then caves and omnipotent beings everywhere, and Geordi's PowerPoint presentations.
Sliding under a big door to avoid a warp core breach.
That works too.
Perfect.
It's at least done twice. Okay, fantastic deep cut.
You're the closest ship in the X.
That's good too. That kind of fits 2 of mine. All right, let's do this regeneration cycle. We're going to recap our picks and go through some stats.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
Okay, Alex, Jen, recap your awesome lists. Alex.
Man, you could easily do a part 2 of this episode because I feel like we just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
My number 5 pick, gathering around the captain's chair to pretty much have a laugh at Spock at the end of episodes of TOS. Number 4, fussy ambassadors who need to get taken from point A to point B. 3, a character getting a hard lesson in how to lead people. Number 2, anytime someone says the amazing 2 words, halt turbolift. And number 1, meeting yourself.
Fantastic. So you did your normal thing. You spread it around 5 different incarnations. TOS, TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Lower Decks. Jen, how about you?
Okay, I have a number 5 pick was 1 character remains unaffected by something affecting the whole ship and they have to save everyone. Number 4, everyone thinks the main character is dead when they are not. Number 3 is the consistency with the made-up particles and units of measurement in the Star Trek universe. Number 2, the helpful local helps our fish out of water hero. And number 1 is our hero does something dangerous or illegal or stupid or all 3 and saves the day anyway because they are bold. They go boldly.
Shinjo, are you able to see this?
All right, so Jen, you did. We're going to start calling this now. This is our new thing.
Ooh.
It's the Shenzhou 5 spot. You picked all 5 episodes as new Star Trek. I don't even know if you realize
Love
that.
it.
So 3 from Lower Decks, 1 from Strange New Worlds, 1 from Picard. Fantastic. Okay, my recap, I had saying exactly how long something you need won't be working, so you can't use it. Repentance from Voyager. The you need to see this trope instead of just telling them what it is. I had the circle from Deep Space Nine and Timescape from TNG. I cheated. Number 3 is chess. Everywhere in Star Trek, I had conundrum from TNG. Number 2, hypo sprays that just wake everybody up perfectly. I love that from the enemy, TNG. And my number 1, just white blank voids for characters to talk in. I had reflections from Lower Decks. So for stats, I only kept our series recap, but the numbers are pretty cool here. So we did not have any duplicates. I knew we were not going to have any duplicates. There's just too many cool things to tackle with this topic. So surprisingly, Enterprise got no picks. So I'm a little surprised that there weren't some trope picks from Enterprise because it's definitely got some tropes in it.
It did come up as like
I should have picked
we
the
gave
sexy
examples.
blue underwear.
We did. Oh yeah, we did for sure. So Discovery, I don't even think it's barely been mentioned, but Discovery's not very tropey, right? I mean, there's some, but it kind of stands on its own a little bit. Nothing from Protostar or any of the films, but everything else got
nothing from Prodigy.
Prodigy, right? Protostar, Prodigy. I've heard it both ways. So here we go. So we had 1 each from TOS, Picard, and Strange New Worlds, 2 each from Deep Space Nine and Voyager. And then TNG had 4, which makes perfect sense. And leading the way spectacularly, perfectly is Lower Decks with 5 picks, as it should. because it's all about the beautiful celebration of Star Trek tropes. We love you, Lower Decks. Fantastic. All right, let's initiate a temporal inversion.
I want to say though, all the examples we picked from Lower Decks fit perfectly in any of those other shows.
Of course,
yes,
of course.
You know, that's what makes it so great.
That's why you say it all the time in your reviews, Alex. That's when Lower Decks is strongest, when it's celebrating those things, but then also kind of creating its own path, which it does really well in Reflections, which I just rewatched today. Oh my God, so good.
So good.
Okay, let's initiate a temporal inversion because it's time to hear from you.
Initiate temporal inversion.
Initiating.
And for this week's temporal inversion, we're going back to episode 162 and our top 5 one-off relatives. Just like we did in the last show, we got another awesome voicemail in. This one is from Scott Gifford, who is Hero Worship 1701 on TikTok. Wow, we got a TikTok. That's our first TikTok submission person, not on Twitter. Scott, we love you. Thank you for this fantastic voicemail. Here it is.
Hi there, Jim. This is Scott Gifford, Hero Worship 1701 on TikTok, and I'm calling in with my take on episode 162, Top 5 One-Off Relatives. Number 5 words couldn't handle an average child, #augmenters. That's Richard and Amsha Bashir from DS9's Dr. Bashir, I presume. Number 4, with the blast shield down, #Anbo Jitsu. That's TNG's Icarus Factor, Kyle Riker. Number 3, Worf's Great Big Russian Hug, #Worf, son of Sergei and Helena Rozhenko from TNG's Family. Number 2, 5 words, taught Beverly her herbal remedies, #Dinna Light the Candle. That's Felisa Howard from TNG's Sub Rosa. And number 1, 5 words, he stayed at his post, #is the word given, from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. That's Scotty's nephew, Peter Preston. Now I'll have to go listen to the episode to see how our lists compare. Have a great day.
Okay, I love that one-off relatives list, especially his number 1, Scotty's nephew from The Wrath of Khan. He stayed at his post. So fantastic. Awesome list. Thank you, Scott. Great job.
I cry every time.
Every time. So good. So good. And then he brings him to the bridge for no reason at all.
Yeah, he should be in sick bay.
Yeah.
Maybe he would have lived if you'd gone straight there.
No, don't say that.
Stop it, Alex.
So saying, time is brain.
All right. Once again, those picks more than enough to clear ourselves from this week's temporal inversion. So as always, I want to thank everyone for all your great responses to the Trek Ranks podcast. Keep your list coming to me at Trek Ranks on Twitter or Blue Sky so we can retweet them. But we also want to hear from you. So put together your own list of top 5 Trek tropes or a list from any of our past shows. Give us a call at the Tricorder Transmissions at 609-512-5527. Or just record it yourself, send me a DM, we can connect that way. So hopefully we'll hear from you so you can be featured on the next episode of Trek Ranks and on the next episode of Trek Ranks. Well, this is perfect. We are doing another season recap show, probably our last one for a while since the writer's strike. We're doing our top 5 Lower Deck season 4 moments, another fantastic season in the books. Alex and Jen, if you had to choose one moment from Lower Deck season 4 through the first, 5 episodes, using our normal Trek Ranks matrix, what would you pick, Alex?
Moopsie.
I can't argue with that pick. Moopsie. Jen, what do you got?
I'm a big fan of Girls Trip Part 2 to Orion.
So good. And now including T'Lyn. So fantastic.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, we are going to get knee deep into Lower Deck season 4 next week.
Channel closed. Reset. Subspace communication. Scrambler code Riker 1.
Scrambler code Riker 1 acknowledged. Okay, we're going to close this episode out with a huge thanks to Alex Perry and Jenn Tifft, back again for another episode of Trek Ranks. Any final Trek Scrambler codes you guys wanted to relay before you depart, Alex?
Yes, as I exit this episode, I expect to see the crew lined up down the corridor to see me off.
Trope. Excellent Trek trope. Jen.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. This is a great topic. It's so fun. And I think Alex is right. You could do this episode again 10 times and still not have any duplicates because there's so many great picks.
So many great picks. Okay, Jen, we need no pressure, but we need to get some more Snap Trek going. So no pressure, though. No pressure. Okay, finally. Thank you, everyone, for engaging with us again here on episode 169 of the Trek Ranks podcast, where I always say the following as a trope at the end of every episode. I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
Ah, Captain Freeman. I guess this means you've had a good trip with your dupla guest?
It was exhausting. Between us, I can't get him off the ship fast enough. The man is so emotionally fragile.
Fragile? Was I too much trouble?
No. You were great. I love having you here.
I was a bad guest. I'm so... Oh, no! I duplicated! This is so embarrassing!
No, it's fine.
Nothing is more mortifying than duplicating. We both did it! Oh.
Just want to remind everyone again that the entire Trek Ranks catalog is available for you to download and listen to at TrekRanks.com and on your podcast player of choice. Our episodes never get carbon dated, so check out the topics you've missed and maybe just want to listen to again over at TrekRanks.com. And a reminder to check out our friends 5-Year Mission at 5yearmission.net. They're writing a song for every episode of Star Trek, and you won't believe how great their music is. They also have a podcast at the Trek Geeks Network, so seek them out. You won't regret it.
Tell me, did she happen to make any comment about those ears?
Not specifically. But I did get the distinct impression she found them the most attractive human characteristic of all. I didn't have the heart to tell her that only I have...
She really liked those ears?
Captain, the Horta is a remarkably intelligent and sensitive creature with impeccable taste.
Because she approved of you?
Really, Captain, my modesty
does not bear close examination, Mr. Spock. I suspect you're becoming more and more human all the time.
Captain, I see no reason to stand here and be insulted.
Ahead, warp factor 2.